Hey guys, Dilby here. Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be looking at indie dance, a type of music that's made by artists like Damon Jee, Defected, Pavel Petrov, Rafael Cerato, and on labels like Dynamic, Still for Talent, EXE Audio, and Syncopat. So I would say indie dance is like a fusion of disco and melodic techno. It's really cool, funky, interesting sounding music, but it's got enough power to kind of exist in the main room, the main stage of a festival. Just quickly, if you like the track that's playing, it's a new one of mine. There's a link in the description to go and check it out on Beatport and Spotify. And as always, if you want to grab the project files for this video, there's a link in the description to Patreon. Patreon's one of the best ways you can support the channel. Make sure I keep bringing you these videos every week. Now let's get into Ableton and make some indie dance. Alright guys, so here we are inside Ableton, and this is a little project that I've put together in this kind of indie dance style, influenced by artists like Damon Jee, Rafael Cerato, labels like Dynamic, Still for Talent, this type of thing. So let's just have a little refresher. It's the same track you heard in the intro, but this is how it sounds. Nice. So I'll just turn off some of the stuff and we'll start from the start as we do, just basically with the kick drum. So this kick is made up of two parts. The first one is sampled from a track from Damon Jee. And I actually sampled a bunch of different kick drums and they all had this very similar, quite unique shape with this, let me open this up, with this very strong transient and then like a sub that kind of opens up. So there was not a lot of attack on the sub portion. If this was like a tech house kick, the shape of the sub would probably start here and trail down. So it's something to note. The kicks are generally kind of short and punchy, and there's like a heavy bass in between. I've also got this kick punch, just giving a little bit of kind of knock to the sound. So together they sound like this. And on this kick, I've just EQ'd out a few frequencies that I felt were kind of helping it to sit better with the bass. So if I take that away, it just kind of tightens up the kick a little bit. So we're just playing a standard 4/4 pattern. MIDI looks like this, very standard house and techno. All right, now let's have a look at the claps, well, snares in this case. We've got two snares playing on the offbeat and they're both doing the exact same thing. They sound slightly different. That one's quite splashy. That one's a bit more of like a click. So together and with the kick, it gives it like an 80s synthwave or disco kind of flavor. It's really cool. And then I've just got this clap fill, which is just happening at the end of 2 and 4 bars. And since we've got quite a loud snare, I'm using this standard clip to just clip away some of the transients. You can see in the red down here. And if I turn that off, you can't really hear a difference, which is kind of what we want. So you don't need standard clip, although this is a pretty cheap plugin. You can also do it with the Ableton Saturator. So let's just, what would be great on this is if you could link the drive and the output, but we can't. Turn on soft clip. We'll just maybe add in 15 dB, take away 15 dB. That way we're putting it into this clipping stage, but we are not adding additional volume. Maybe I'll just bring that up to 17. And then I've got a bit of reverb, which is just my standard clap reverb, 900 milliseconds with a pre-delay of 30 milliseconds. And I've got that at 22% wet. So that could be done with any reverb that you like. Valhalla is a good one, very commonly used. Now let's look at the hats. The hats in this style are pretty specific. There's this kind of rhythm to it all, which is like this on-beat, off-beat kind of thing, which works with the bass and the hats. So the first one we've got is this pedal hat, which sounds like this. So this is like a live, real hi-hat, and it's simulating when a drummer presses the pedal on the hi-hat and closes them. And that plays together with this closed hat, which has got a MIDI track like this, This is playing on the downbeat and then the offbeat, downbeat, offbeat, with a couple of little groove fill type things in there. So all together. Cool. And then the next thing, we've got this single open hat. It's almost like a longer version of a pedal type hat. So if I show this in the browser, so that kind of gives this feeling of like sucking into the next hit. So you can see these drums are starting to work together to create like a really nice groove. It kind of rolls along. Then we've got this 909 open hat, just playing offbeats with a couple of little fills, but you'll notice the envelope here, I've got it quite short. Probably even bring that in a little bit. So the actual open hi-hat sounds, which is probably a bit more what you'd expect from a 909. So if I hit it to one shot here, so that's something that you might use in like tech house or techno or something. But we're using it like this. So a lot tighter. All right, in the percussion, we've got this little percussion kind of glitchy rim type thing, using a saturator and a vocoder to add some noise to it. Without the noise, so I've turned the formant up, which gives it that kind of resonant type sound. And then I'm just using an auto pan set to quarter notes to pan it side to side. So it's just like really giving some energy and filling out some space in the drums. So it just kind of amps up the energy a little bit. Now we've got some toms. The toms are really cool. They kind of help to give it this, like, again, synthwave or disco kind of vibe. So here's the MIDI pattern for that. 3 different toms. This one says low tom, but I've actually EQ'd out a bit of the bottom. So it was lower, but now it's kind of another mid tom. Together with the drums, sounds like this. So very groovy drums, very kind of fun and exciting, punchy, and quite 80s-esque. Now the bass. The bass I've just made with Drift. It's two sawtooths, one tuned down an octave, and then I've got a little bit of noise oscillator coming through it. So we're in the key of D minor and tempo of 1, 2, 3. So that's how the bass sounds. This is the MIDI, right? So we're playing the downbeat, the offbeat, downbeat, offbeat. Pretty much exactly the same as the hi-hat. Of course, we've got a sidechain using kickstart, and it's quite a meaty sidechain, so we're really ducking down the on-beat bass sound. So it kind of helps to create this like rolling, pulsing rhythm. Very energetic. So together with the drums, and we've got this other bass thing that I've called bass glitch. So it's made from a bass sound, but I've actually taken away quite a lot of the sub, because we've got a pretty heavy bass line here, and I don't want to interfere with that. So this one, bass glitch, sounds like that. Big. We've got a delay on it, chorus, kickstart again to do some side chaining, setting it to some reverb. This reverb is just from my return channel. So it looks like this. I'll link to my template, a video where I go through it up here. You can check that out, download it from Patreon if you want, link in the description to that. But it explains the way that I have my template set up and the reasons why. Okay, so this pattern here is pretty cool. It's playing these like 30-second notes, and it gives it this glitchy kind of, I don't know, ripping kind of feeling. It sounds really cool. Let me just play it. I'll just turn this delay off. So it's playing a lower octave and then a higher octave. And this is just a preset from Ableton. I just kind of put the MIDI in and then switched through some presets to find something that suited the track. So that's really cool, I think, and it gives it like a real personality. It makes it a bit more atmospheric and epic with the delay. Cool. So let's have a look at some melodic elements. There's actually a couple of other bass parts that I made, but they're not really containing any low end, so I took them out of the bass group. So we've got this guitar pluck, which is, well, essentially a bass guitar, just a one shot. Cool. And I've just put it in here. It's in F minor, so I've just tuned it up to be in C, so then I can play the notes and it will work. So that's just playing together with the bass and gives it a bit more of a live bass feel. Just kind of adds to that humanization and makes it sound a bit more funky. Then we've got this glitch layer. This is something that I just totally kind of happened by random. I was playing the bass line, so this is something that just totally happened by accident. I was playing with the bass line and I turned off the oscillators and turned on the noise. So it wasn't moving like this. I didn't have the LFO, but it kind of had this resonant sound. I was like, oh, I can use that to create some kind of interesting texture. So I added the LFO to create some movement in the filter. If you go here, the LFO is set to the frequency and it's moving around at 85%. Drift doesn't show the movement, unfortunately. The pattern, so I made it 16ths, so with the bass. Right, so I got it by messing around with the bass, and then I thought, okay, it sounds cooler if I make it 16ths. There's a bit more going on. Then I've got this pitch drift, which is a free plugin from Baby Audio. So that's just moving this resonant frequency and creating a bit of randomness in the pitch, some chorus and kickstart to sidechain it. So it just adds like a really cool texture on top of the bass. So it's really subtle, but it just kind of fills out that space and makes the whole beat and groove sound a bit more interesting. Then we've got this pad, which is again just a preset from Ableton. And I'm just playing the root note D plus up 7 semitones to the A. And I've got this amp on it. I noticed when I was referencing some of these tracks, actually I used a lot of like guitar pedal sounding distortion. So without the amp, also works, but this gives it a bit more of a harder, aggressive edge. Cool. Now we've got these two leads here, and I've called it lead 1 and 2, but they're kind of working together, so I'll play them at the same time. We've got MIDI here playing D, just on the downbeat every 8 bars, and then this one here plays the bar after, and we've got that same chord again with the D and the A. So together they sound like this. So this lead 1 kind of plays, and then the release kind of has it trailing off as this opens up from the attack here, which creates like this swell type sound. That lead 2 could probably be a touch louder. Let's just give it a try. And in context. Cool. And we've got this 16th pluck thing, which actually happened as I was messing around trying to find a bassline pattern. Initially, this was what I was trying. So let's see if I take that and we drop it onto the bass. So So that's what I was initially messing around with for the bass. But a lot of these tracks have this kind of on-beat, off-beat, eighth note kind of bass line. So I wanted to go with that in the end, but this would also work. But then I managed to use it, find a way to incorporate it. I just put it onto a different synth, and now it's playing like this kind of 16th note, almost arpeggio-like pattern. So that comes in the break. And we've got this filter frequency opening up at the end. Nice. So that just kind of really adds a whole new depth of character to the track, you know, another hook basically. We've got this vocal, which is again playing these eighth note patterns, which works with the hi-hats and the bass. And then it's side-chained again with the kickstart, gives it the kind of like low, high volume. This is what the original sound is like. So I just used the end of that and then used the envelope to make it sound, make it fit. Then I'm adding some chorus, Tel Chorus LX, brilliant free chorus, and then auto pan just to move it around the panorama, make it feel a bit more atmospheric and interesting. Nice one. Then we've got this vocal, which I just found on Loop Cloud, I think in some kind of techno type thing.
The pulsating core of the universe mirrors our hearts, both drawn to the rhythmic allure, an eternal dance of matter and mind, energy and emotion.
So that's what it sounds like from Loop Cloud Dry. Now what I've done to it here is pitched it down a little bit. I've got quite a lot of processing on this, which is quite cool, so I'll just turn it all off. So here's what it sounds like, just pitched down.
The pulsating core of the universe mirrors our heart.
Sending it to a little bit of delay and reverb. Then I've got a glue compressor just to kind of control the dynamics a bit.
The pulsating core of the universe mirrors our hearts.
And I'm using this amp to make it sound a bit more crunchy, a bit more aggressive.
The pulsating core of the universe mirrors our hearts.
Some chorus.
The pulsating core of the universe mirrors our hearts.
And then this EQ to control some of the resonance that's being created by this amp.
The pulsating core of the universe mirrors our hearts.
We've got a little bit of kickstart, so it's just pretty gentle, just to pump it to the beat, makes it feel a little bit more rhythmic.
The pulsating core of the universe mirrors our hearts.
Now in this audio effect rack, this is some parallel processing. So we've got the dry signal just coming through, no processing on that. And then we have this beat repeat pattern. So this beat repeat is creating some like random glitches. I'll just turn off this here because we've actually got another channel. So it's like it randomly creates these repeat glitch type things.
The pulsating core of the universe mirrors our hearts.
There's in the background. So the dry signal is always playing, then sometimes the beat repeat happens randomly, and then that goes through a chorus. And then we also have another, let me turn off the dry.
The pulsating core of the universe mirrors.
Right, now we also have another one. So if I turn off the dry from that one.
Pulsating core of the universe mirrors.
So a lot of glitching going on here. Basically, there's not a lot of rhyme or reason to this. I just did it pretty randomly. Then I'm using this LFO to control the on and off of this device. So sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes when it's on, it's glitching, sometimes it's not. So it's a little bit complicated. It looks really complicated, but it's basically a bunch of kind of trial and error, just throwing things in and seeing what happened. Let me just turn this back on. If you want to have a look at it in more detail, I suggest downloading the project file. There's a link in the description to Patreon where you can grab it. But yeah, it basically just kind of glitches it all up, has some randomness happening in the background, but the dry signal is always passed through, so you can always hear the vocal. So this is how it sounds again.
The pulsating core of the universe mirrors our hearts. both drawn to the rhythmic allure, an eternal dance of matter and mind, energy and emotion.
So you just heard at the end, I'm sending the last word, emotion, to a delay on a return channel. One other thing we've got is this reversed vocal. So that just kind of sucks into the main vocal when it happens. Audio looks like this, and I've just got a little envelope on here, the fade, just helping it turn it into a sweep. The way I've made that is using a little piece of this audio here, just this little bit here. I just copied that down to this audio track, reversed it, put a reverb on, 100% wet, decay of 13.5 seconds, and then I froze that track, and then I've just gone like this, hold control, drag it down, and then we get the audio. Then I just reverse that again, and then use this, something like that. There you go. You can make your own effects from any vocal in your track. And when you do that, it just sounds like so much like it's supposed to be there. It also really helps with this kind of thing where this vocal feels like it doesn't just come out of nowhere anymore.
The pulsating core of the universe mirrors our hearts, both drawn.
So it's a really cool effect. Speaking of effects, let's look at some effects. We've got quite a few things going on here. So we've got this 16th note snare roll. We've got some volume automation happening with this utility. So it's just getting louder as we come closer to that drop. But we're also cutting out the low frequencies. So if I go like this and like this, then we can see both those automations. So it's kind of getting louder and more intense, but getting more thin, which allows space for the other elements to come through, and you don't get too much of like a build up on that drop. By taking away that low end, it means that when the kick and the bass come back in, they have a bigger impact because there's a bigger dynamic in terms of the low frequency. So we've got a little snare fill. So the MIDI looks like that. It's just a one shot from my sample pack. We've got a tom fill, which I just got off Loop Cloud. So again, it helps to give that kind of slightly live disco kind of feel.
Energy and emotion.
Just really fits with the vibe. Got a crash, it's quite subtle. We've got a couple of risers. This one I think I got from it's from Loop Cloud, but I think it was from like a melodic techno pack or something. So it's a bit more intense than something I would use in my own tracks normally. And I just automated this kickstart so that it comes on and starts pumping when the kick comes back in. There's another reverse sweep from my sample pack again. So that's like a long cymbal with a bunch of reverb and stuff on top of it. If you want to grab my sample pack, there's a link up here to houseofloop.com. Lots of good stuff in there. Okay, so this is just another reverse, a short reverse. So it's just kind of helping with all these transitions. And then we've got this white noise, called it a noise pump because we're sidechaining it quite heavily. Got the kickstart at 76%. So it's just drift again with only the noise oscillator happening. And then I've just basically shaped the sound using the envelope here, and then also shaped the way that the filter responds using this envelope. So we're just playing a little bit over one beat, and this is how it sounds. And I put some chorus on it to just make it, I don't know, sound a bit more interesting. And I was experimenting with the phaser. But I felt like the chorus gave it more of the effect that I was looking for. We could try it with a flanger. That's quite cool. So it's an easy way to create your own like white noise effects, and then you can really add your own flavor to them. And that is all the elements You can see here in the arrangement, we're basically building things up. It starts out quite groovy, quite stripped back. We're slowly adding more elements. And then we kind of switch it up in the break, bring in the vocal and the synth. So here we've brought out the bass on the kick and on the bass line. So those low frequencies are being cut using a filter. Same thing's happening on the kicks.
Both drawn to the rhythmic allure, an eternal dance of matter and mind, energy and emotion.
Cool stuff. So, I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to grab the project files for this, it's available to download from Patreon. There's a link in the description, so go and grab that. Patreon's one of the best ways you can support the channel, and there's like literally so many project files over there now. It's a bit out of control sometimes. But I think getting in there and having a look can really like help you to understand how some of these things have been done. Alright guys, there you go. What do you think? Did I get close to the sound? Let me know in the comments. Who's your favorite indie dance artist? Mine's probably Damon Jee, but let me know in the comments if there's someone you think I should keep an eye on. If you're looking for something to watch next, then check out this video. I think you're gonna like it. Well, that's it from me today. We'll catch you next time. Peace.